In the next few days, Castellum CTM will be reporting quarterly earnings. And the question you need to be asking is, are you positioned correctly for the earnings report? Because when it comes to a small cap stock like Castellum CTM that's highly volatile, it's not even just about the report itself and the numbers. It's also about the market sentiment and the momentum that that the market sentiment can bring to a highly volatile stock like Castellum CTM. So today I'm breaking down what this earning reports means, what you should be watching out, what investors are anticipating, and how this earnings report affects you and your portfolio personally. So, real quick recap on the stock, guys. Castellum CTM and what it is they do is a cybersecurity and IT services company that provides secure software and technology solutions mainly for US government and defense clients. Now, why this earnings report matters specifically is because, first off, from this does have the potential to change the market sentiment of the company, especially after what frequently happened with the big AI sell-off in the entire artificial intelligence market, and the fact that they do have the chance to report two back-to-back profitable moments. Because again, they have changed the market sentiment of the company has changed in the sense that they are debt-free. They moved on to phase 3 of their plan. They're looking to acquire and complete acquisitions. And overall, things are starting to look more and more bullish for the company itself. Now, if they are able to have another positive earnings, and if they are able to do two back-to-back profitable quarters, that would be very positive for the stock itself, and it would encourage a lot more investors, and also could change the sentiment with institutions, because due to the riskiness of this stock itself, institutions they add on to their shares, and they add on by buying more shares due to the risk of a stock specifically. So for example, even though that Castellum CTM is at a cheap price, and a lot of retail investors looked at this recent dip all the way down to as little as 79 cents as a big buying opportunity. Institutions don't just look at the price itself and think, oh, okay, let's buy it due to the fact that it's at a cheaper price. They do have their own little well, obviously, because I'm not an institution myself, but they do look at specific things in itself to make sure if the buying opportunity that's presenting itself is actually worth the risk that's on the table. And if we are able to have another positive quarterly, that may help change the sentiment as the way that institutions view this stock itself. And they can have a lot, and the amount of shares that are held by all investors can increase, because at the moment it's about 14% of all shares held by all shares held by investors. It's only 14% of investors. The rest is retail traders and investors. So if they're able to change the sentiment, it could see more positions buying into the company. Now, if you do want to get more breakdowns about earnings like this in companies like Castellum CTM, please make sure you feel free to subscribe so you don't miss the update when CTM does report quarterly earnings. And also, if you are looking to find other like-minded investors and traders, please feel free to join my free community in InvestQ, where we discuss topics like this. And if you need help with making logical decisions with your portfolio, with your trades and investments, please feel free to check out Prophecy AI. It's a very beneficial tool. Now, when it comes to the actual quarterly reports, shout out to Will Rich right there. But when it does come to that, guys, what this company we're looking for, first off, you got to look at the revenue expectations. So if we look at the last quarter specifically, let's check that out, guys. Let's check out Stellum CTM. Now, please correct me if I'm wrong, and please feel free to put in the comments if they did report exactly the forward guidance and the type of revenue they were looking for this quarter. But if we're looking at exactly what it was last quarter, revenue was at, let's see here. Yeah, let's just do a quick Google search, guys. Q3 earnings, revenue, 2025. Alrighty, when it comes to that, the revenue was at 14 million. So obviously we do want to see if there is growth in the revenue itself, and if we do get higher amounts of revenue. First off, in regards to contracts itself, we all know that that the company itself has been getting they continue to get contracts because there were concerns in regards to the way that they would be generating revenue if they could continue to gain more contracts in the long term. They've continued to do so because, again, as if you recall in previous videos, and if we go take a quick look, Castellum CTM government contracts, and you can do your own research as well, and you can look on this the website itself. But here, I'm gonna look at recent three. In fact, I'm pretty sure if we just look at the news, you'll be able to see it right here, guys. So let's see, news. All right. So if you look here, so recently we had one that was at 49.8 million. We got it this year in January 7th. And then if we go back to 2025, you're going to see here that there was another one in October 31st. It was posted at 66.2 million. And the big one that a lot of people talk about when it comes to Castellum CTM was earlier in 2025. Let's check it. At right here, February 28th at $103.3 million. So they continue to gain more, acquire more contracts, and they continue to grow in that way, which is very good with a $216 million backlog that they have. They are exposed to the government due to the market that they're in and the continued need for defense, which is what they do in the defense sector of the market, and they work with cybersecurity and they use artificial intelligence. So they are positioning themselves to gain more exposure in the overall defense and AI market itself. And again, I would have to look at forward guidance in regards to what they said, but I wouldn't be surprised if it is something positive. Please feel free to comment exactly if you know what they said forward guidance was in the last quarter. And when we look at the metrics of profitability and margins, first off, are they scaling? Yes, they increased their backlog, as I mentioned, to 216 million over a 5-year runway. And this next earnings most likely is going to reflect that as well. I wouldn't be surprised if they do have higher revenue due to the increase in their backlog. Are they burning cash? That's an obvious answer. That's not the case. They are not burning cash because, as you can see here, the most recent news is they paid off all their debt, and this company has are very disciplined financially, and they do a very good job. They overall do have a lot of discipline when it comes to their finances, and they are looking to not increase, but they're looking to expand, as it has been stated in the actual news article they have right here. They stated that they are in phase 3. 2026 also, if you read this right here, 2026 also means we're transitioning to phase 3, which basically means they are focusing on organic growth efforts. However, it's not just about that. Even though they are laser focused with it, as you know, can quote it right here. It's also the fact that they're looking to complete other accretive acquisitions. So they're looking to expand. And with the position they are in financially, it's not just about the day-to-day operations, and it's not just about survival for the company. It's also about they're in a newer area of the company. They're in a new phase, so they're not just worried about day-to-day. Because when you're just focused, you know, think about it from the perspective of regular people. When you're just focused on paying your bills day to day and you're just focused on survival, you don't grow. But when you do have a little bit more cash that you've invested, a little more cash in savings, things of that nature, then you do have a little more room and time to have the thought process of, okay, how can I continue to grow and make my situation better? That's the situation that this company is in specifically. Now, what management says matters, because again, I have mentioned, in fact, let's try to see if we can pull it up right now. Let's see here. So let's go over to see if what I can find the news in regards to, yeah, reports. So I probably could have just answered the question about forward guidance if I just looked at, yeah, forward-looking statements. So I'm not going to go over all that in the video. Again, it's pretty easy for you to find in Castellum CTM, but one thing, and please feel free to fact check it yourself. There was an article that was discussing about what Glenn Ives, the CEO, has said, where he specifically stated that before, even though obviously for the CEO of a company, you're always going to want to say positive things for your company. I will do my best to find the article and to fact check it, but there has been news about him saying that beforehand he was worried about the future of he was a little more worried and a little more concerned about the future of the company compared to now. If any of his family members were to ask about where to invest their money, he would tell them just set it and forget it with Castellum CTM. So obviously you do want to have those that type of positive outlook from your CEO. And I do have, again, even though we don't marry stock and we don't just marry the CEO of the company, you want to stick to your strategy, and you want to do have a very biased long-term play and long-term analysis of the stock in the company. But any positive outlook from the website itself and the leadership positions, that's always a good sign for the company. Now, again, like I said, we do not marry a stock and we do not marry a company. So you got to take the risk into play as well. So you also got to take into consideration that this stock specifically is a small cap with high volatility. So if it doesn't meet your risk parameters within a psychological perspective, you got to take that into consideration. There are some liquid. You got to also take into consideration if there's any liquidity issues with the company itself. One thing that is not a risk in itself, but obviously in our little community of Castellum CTM, especially when you go on Reddit, a lot of people do have a cult mindset. And this isn't to disrespect or say anything bad about the Castellum CTM community or people that are long-term holders of the company and have faith in the company and have done their due diligence and their thorough research on the company. The only thing is, if what I like about this company is the fact that it's not overhyped in social media, on YouTube and things of that nature. It is a solid company, but we at Castellum CTM, or we as investors of Castellum CTM, forgive me, correct, that little error in what I said right there. But us as retail investors in Castellum CTM, we don't have a whole lot of overhype risk. So, which is a good thing due to the fact that it's not mentioned a lot. If you just go on YouTube, you're going to see a little more now with Will Rich and a few other AI type videos where the people that are talking are just artificial intelligence. But it's not the same if you look at something like Nvidia, everyone's talking about it. Or smaller companies like Big Bear, everybody's talking about it. And there's a lot of people that are feeling FOMO. That's not the case with this stock. And I'm a personal believer that investing in this stock is being one of the people that is being first before the news of how valuable this company is hits the headlines. Now, we trade value here as well, and we invest in value. Obviously, anything can happen with the stock, so please take all the risks into consideration. And even though I personally have a bullish outlook on this company itself, my opinion does not influence the market in any way, shape, or form. So take all that into consideration. And in my opinion, there's three potential outcomes with this earnings report: is a strong revenue beat, positive guidance, and we get more momentum, and we have a good earnings beat. A little more neutral is it meets expectations and we continue to chop sideways. However, in my opinion, as long as there's a beat on earnings and we don't miss earnings, I personally believe that we still are going to be able to get above the dollar range and hold chop sideways there at least. I do believe that we will be getting up and above the dollar range. And fun little fact with price action, we had the big dip, as you can see right here. We've dipped all the way down to 79 cents, and we are almost back up at the a dollar range. So just a little fun thing to take into consideration. So anybody that did trade down here and sold up here, congratulations to you. Hopefully you made a good profit. And the last scenario that I need to mention is more of a bearish, is there's weak growth, there's more concern about dilutions, and we do pull back to this area of support right there at the 79-cent level. I personally don't think that's going to be the case, especially with all the positive news that has come out and their big backlog and all of the positive indicators that there are for this company. But you never know. Anything can happen in the stock market. So one thing that I would like to summarize is the key isn't necessarily predicting perfectly. It's making sure you are prepared for any outcome and you position size accordingly and you act accordingly depending on the type of investor or trader you are, because your outlook and your thought process needs to be much different if you're on a shorter time frame like a day trader, or if you're a long-term investor willing to hold for the next 10 years. Everything varies. Nothing's necessarily set in stone. You got to act accordingly with the data and the information that is on the table. And guys, please drop a comment below on what it is you specifically think about Castellum CTM. If you think they're going to beat earnings, if they're going to miss, or if it's going to be completely flat. I read every comment and I want to know where it is you stand specifically when it comes to this company. So with that being said, guys, David-InvestQ here. Looking forward to earnings. I'm very excited. But besides that, stay safe, stay green, and do your best not to lose money. Take it easy, guys.